that maybe I might digress into is reforming an organisation, looking to the way we want it to be, without really having worked out where it's coming from or what it is. But that's maybe for some of the questions afterwards. I want to talk a lot about what the Commission was, what it wants to be, because for the first time ever, the Commission has now, in some way, it's a horrible word from a long time ago, it has a blueprint. It has a green print or a white print, I don't know what it is, but it has a norm, a prescription for itself. This is the way we want to be, and competencies come in there. By the way, those of you who would like to tune out and think about the next session or something, I can come straight to the conclusion. My conclusion is that we need you. Now, you mightn't be surprised by that, you knew that all along. But we didn't. And when I say I'm going to talk about the way we were and the way we want to be, part of the way we were is, I think, public administration. I think it's fair to say it did not figure highly. It has not figured highly. And I want to look a little bit under maybe the retrospective as to why that was. And I have an answer. Maybe you'll disagree totally. Remember, I'm not an academic, I'm just giving the simple view from the street, the worm's eye view. The Commission, 20,000 people. The Commission has, 50 years, more or less 50 years old. For 45 of those 50 years, everything worked wonderfully well. It was a great place to be. The little, the things that make a culture. In Brussels, to show a badge of honour. The people from the Commission were delighted to have a special number plate. It didn't give them any privileges, you couldn't drive any faster, you couldn't park on the footpath. Everybody can park on the footpath and Brussels. But people were delighted. I am from la Commission Européenne, not to be called a marché comique. I am from the European Commission, and it was something. 45 years. Then suddenly, somebody's dentist got paid money that he shouldn't have got paid, and the dream was over. Dramatically. From the Germans would say, von heute auf morgen. From one day to the next. Auditors came in. We call them auditors now. We didn't have any sense, as Frank said, we're getting some. And people asked questions like, who is in charge around here? And there was no answer. And then we had what I'm calling the present, which is the reform process, learning by trauma, an almost complete abandoning of almost all the acquis, everything that we had. And my background, by the way, is in social psychology. So a lot of it is, I'm tending towards the Freudian. An abandoning of identity, an abandoning of the culture, the values that held us together, structures, everything put in question. That's where we're now. And we have this blueprint, which has a lot of competencies in it that I want to talk about. Talking about dentists, you know, of course, the difference between Jean-Marie Le Pen and the French football team. No? Le Pen got into the second round. Sorry. No. Anyhow, I put on the screen, I brought some PowerPoints. This is my first PowerPoint presentation is on the screen right now. Yep. The Commission, for those first beautiful 45 years of total effectiveness and what do we call it, coherence and being a valued member of the institutional family, I'm showing there what the Commission had by way of management structures, institutional objectives. Remember, I come from inside. Internal reward systems, job descriptions, annual plans, appraisals, internal audits. All of those structures are, I hope, on that screen over there. Zero. It did not matter. We didn't know about those things. And I'm going to make maybe a small digression, maybe it's a digression, maybe not. Most of you might know, I'm going to show my age now, might know from the management literature, Mintzberg, Henry Mintzberg. I'm showing my age. He's probably long gone, having been replaced by Michael Porter's grandson or something in the meantime. But anyway, Henry Mintzberg. Typology of organizations. Professionalized. You might remember professionalized. It's notion of a bureaucracy, but you're not being controlled, you're not being watched. You are pre-programmed. You know the right thing to do. Doctor, should I say dentist, should do dentistry, and carpenters should work on wood. You are pre-programmed. You are not being managed. You do not have a boss who's setting a job description, setting a 6-monthly objective, doing midterm reviews. Not like that. You are pre-programmed. A professionalised structure. We had an enormous amount of that in the Commission at a particular level. At the level of what we call heads of unit or senior A staff. Now again, I'm going to come back to our 20,000 people. We have 20,000 people, but maybe the image is it apartheid, or I don't know what. If you can imagine a structure, an organisation, a place, a country, where you have two completely different types of person. Apartheid could be black and white. In Brussels, for example, people live their lives in French. All of their whole 95 years nowadays, they live in French. There are other people who live a completely Flemish life in Brussels, all 95 years ago. Okay, they meet and they overhear others, but you can live, you can share the same space, and you can have a totally different experience, a different reality. Those 20,000 people in the Commission, there were two groups in there. There were, I call them the A's, the A category. The heads of unit, the professionals, the people with the university background. And if we go back to Mintzberg, those are the people who were the lawyers, the economists, the psychologists, the doctors, the nuclear scientists, and it was a professionalised approach. What did they do? They did what they had been prepared to do in university. And I make a link back to public administration and us not needing you for the first 45 years. I don't think the Commission ever ran a recruitment for A category staff saying we want public administration. You know who recruits in the Commission, and this is also going towards the fire. Okay, the organisation pretends to do like the National Civil Service and have a recruitment for a career. You don't believe that at all. It does the whole set of tests to 100,000 or 200,000 people. And some of them pass and they get onto a list. But to get the job, you have to be recruited by one of those professionals, a person, head of unit, who wants you for a particular job. Wants an economist, a lawyer, a social scientist, a nuclear inspector, for a particular job. And I do not know if any of those jobs was ever called public administration. And that's the way it was. The other group, the non-A's, the B's, C's and D's, all the others, I come back to Mintzberg, and here I don't know. I had a discussion with Aberdeen Council in the past. They were, okay, the slaves, the vassals, the workers, the bees, around the queen bees, whatever. And if you want to use the Mintzberg model, they were either the little local bureaucracy at the service of this professional head, or they were the simple structure of the slaves whose job was basically do what you are told. So we now have two categories. The 20,000 divided into maybe something around not much more than 2,000 to 3,000 people who are treated like professionals. These guys know what they're doing and they can be trusted to do it. And you have all the others who are depending on them and to do on a daily basis what they're told to do.
The Commission. Can you hear me back there? Yeah. Very flat. An extremely flat organisation. Let me go to the next one. That is what I think in your books you would call a classical public bureaucracy. Multiple layers, chopped up jobs, etc. The Commission has never, ever done that. Now, maybe you would have to have either worked inside in it or had one of your students go as a stagiaire to come back and tell you. Because the Commission has put out wonderful, I don't know, the black propaganda or white propaganda all along to pretend that it's like that. And it has told the British press, we are a big bureaucracy. The Commission is grossly pre-bureaucratic, very flat, very underdeveloped. Now, I said all of that is changing and I better get on to, yeah. Now, let me just take my synthesis from here, so I do it right. Reform, and what's happening in reform? Let's go back to the time of trauma, when the whole house fell. You remember the Commission collapsed? The auditors, we call them those, the parliamentarians, the wise men, came in and they said, nobody is in charge, what a mess around here. and Neil Kinnock, the new commission, new commissioner, vice president for reform, the blueprint, the new ways of doing it. We are now implementing the fruits of that. Let's just look, and again, I'm trying to remind myself that your interest in me is probably, well, what kind of students should we be producing for this? What kind of people should we be getting for this new organisation? I'll put them all up together. Look what we have. Now, we have on paper, and really I wish I had been invited next year rather than this year, because then I could talk more about the reality on the ground. We are making the first steps at putting all of this in place. Now I want you to compare this slide with the first one, which was completely blank, where the Commission for 45 years did not have job description. Nobody had a job description. We are going to go from a situation where nobody had a job description at the end of last year to September this year, when of the 20,000, about 15,000 will have job descriptions. On a particular model, using specially developed software. I would have been very cynical up to about a month ago, but I've seen it. I've seen what they're doing. And, I mean, I'm a born cynic, I'm a civil servant, but I'm a reasonable objection to every proposal of good civil servant. My cynicism is being overcome by what I see happening. We have going to have, I should stop saying are going to. We have job descriptions. We have a notion, I hate the word, career, but we have it. We have career mapping, career development. Let me link that down to, is the word appraisal is there somewhere? Maybe it's the next one I need. On down. Yes. Annual appraisal, 6 monthly reviews, and measured against objectives, rewarded accordingly. Never had that. Remember the professional who was well paid, remember was well paid, did not bad, but was very well paid in relative terms. The A's, the professionals, will do the right thing. The others will do what they're told. All is well. Now, job descriptions. Career management. I'm going down round the clock. Mobility, forget that. It's important, but we can forget it for the moment. Training. I forgot to say in my first slide, we had no training. We have a training budget. We spend it. The people who speak Italian learn Spanish, and the ones who speak French learn Italian. Comes around each year, we go there and they go here, but we have no training. We now have training with the annual appraisals, the career structure, underperformance, promotion, all linked, and I have a slide or two coming up, into a reward system. You're maybe thinking at this stage, what a heap of rubbish, typical blueprint, nobody will obey. Maybe they won't. But one of the things has to do with the reward structure. And the reward structure has been shifted to try and make all of this happen. I'll show you how in a moment. So, at 180 degrees within 12 months. Maybe there are implications there too. It'll be a surprise to me what's next because I've forgotten. Oh yes. This is linking into what Frank was saying, what if you like, the outcome of reform. This is the other side. Remember, we had no work program. We had no objectives. People just did the right thing. Who is in control? We now have a system of levers. It's a big brother. But we have, from the Commission objectives, at the level of the DG, the DG is the Director General, we have objectives. Objectives are translated from DG level into unit objectives. Unit objectives are put in to accompany the job description in individual objectives, where you get down here at the very bottom. You see where the job description fits in, and all of that, I shouldn't break the line here, competency and conduct framework, linking into training objectives, so that people's competencies are mapped. I'm not saying enough about competencies, I say it now and I forget it. All of this has an input into it, an identifying of competencies across the 20,000. Put an injecting of the relevant competencies into each job description. And taking out of those competencies each time, at least every year, or in the best of cases every 6 months, for putting into individual development plans, which go into your individual objectives, which have to be reviewed so that you have to attend training. Not pie in the sky, it's happening. How well? invite me back next year. But it's happening. I'm nearly there. Competencies. For all. Now, don't ask me why people have divided the world into competencies and conduct. I'm not guilty of doing it. But I think the fact that we say competencies and conduct means, for those of you, and I got some very good lessons from people last night on the academic discourse of competencies. Basically, it's one of those words like empowerment, which sounds good. It sounds too good to throw it away. So you invest it with lots of meaning, but the meaning that I invest into it mightn't be the same as the one that Justin might invest into. So there is a little bit of grey zone. Is it a trait? Is it a behaviour? Is it a trait in the behaviour? Is it an inherent capacity? How much of it is learned? How much of it grows? But anyhow, we have competency, conduct, framework. And that is for across the Commission. And I have the details, pages and pages of details. When we are working well with others, I take the first one. We are doing this, a list of 10 things. And then you turn over the page. When we are not working well with others, this is what we are doing. We are thinking about ourselves. We are thinking in narrow team objectives, our team and not their team. Whole prisoner's dilemma, if you like, going on in there. Motivation, service culture, communication competencies, etc. Anybody who wants the details, I have them. And then, that's what the first bit in the dollar script, across 20,000 people. And then, for each job, a set of specific competencies, which is where your nuclear inspection or satellite broadcasting or whatever will come in. Very far from the mystique of the professional, which was our old way of being. For managers, in case people are thinking, oh, sorry, I did it wrong. Yes. Again, I have pages, what they mean for each manager. We have managers, we never have managers. I was saying to somebody last night, if you go to the European Commission and say, hey, managers, stand up, it'll take about 30 seconds, because nobody feels themselves addressed. But people are now called managers. It's written into their job description. Are they going to take it seriously? Yes. To assessment. People, everybody, up to the level of directors general, are being assessed on the fulfillment of objectives, goals, actually, you know, down here, their personal development goals, and on their demonstration of competency and conduct. Let me get it back again. So, the assessment, at least annual, for the top two levels, 360 degrees, for the lower levels not, every year has to revisit their competency profile, update it, and assess them against it. I'm almost there. And this, we are down to, I said as we're talking detail. This is, promotion comes through click, click, click. In the past it used to be, we look at the guy, a good guy. We had two categories, good or not good. Yeah? Four categories, a good guy, not a good guy, a good girl, not a good girl. But those were our categories. You know, stay in line was the, stay in the queue was our, or maybe even overtake the guy in front of you, maybe exceptionally. But now, transparency, all kinds of things, but look, in there, the second line, 6 out of 20 for measuring up to the competency profile for your particular job. I think I'm almost there. Yeah, I'll leave it at that. Now, I said at the beginning, I think we need you. I think the commission, as I see it, that we are coming away from, was this commission which was set up, probably exactly the right structure, exactly the right organisation at the right time. Europe needed it. Europe needed a lot of things in the 1950s. It worked well. It probably worked well. Probably, let's say, it wasn't discovered. All of its dysfunctions weren't discovered for a while, and then when they were discovered, the house of cards collapsed. It is now being reinvented. I don't know if I come here next year, what model will I have? Will it be a classical public bureaucracy? But it's being reinvented around all of these new clarities about what we need. We have, for the first time ever, pages and pages of what everybody should have, what some people should have, what managers should have. Now, surely there's something in there. You'll tell me after. Thank you.